guys, welcome. This is the Waldorf BLOFELD Virtual Analog Synthesizer from 2007, and you can still buy these new, which is pretty incredible. And this patch is called Deep Space Nine. Big fan of that show, and it's a really awesome synthesizer. And tonight what we're going to do is we're going to check out some of the patches. I'm just fresh off a plane from KnobCon, so we'll probably chat a bit about that in between checking out some stuff. Before we do that though, let's just run through some patches real quick so we can kind of get a vibe for what the synthesizer is like. This one's called With Love. Really big sound engulf. Welcome to the stream. Let's check out. Whoa. Glad to hear you picked up a BLOFELD engulf. Let's get this going here. Dubstation's AX60s for sale. That's awesome. Definitely an incredible vintage analog polysynth from the 80s. Worth picking up. Oh yeah, here we go. Very cool. Oh, it's just kind of going. Love the stereo action. Yes, I agree. Let's move on to Angel's Cry. Love that interesting LFO action. Really big. And so what's interesting about this synthesizer is obviously Waldorf has come back in a huge way since this synth. But you know, everybody's interested in Iridium Keys and the new Quantum Mark II. But to me, this might be, especially if you get one used, a really great option for two categories of people. One is someone who wants to add the Waldorf flavor into their live sets. They do make a keyboard version, as Machine Storm is saying. By the way, Machine Storm, welcome to the stream. How's it going, my friend? It's got a really great Waldorf character, and there's a reason why most of their products sell for so much. The fact that you can get these for pretty cheap, pretty reasonable nowadays is great. They are fully editable, but they only have a few knobs on them that give you a little bit of real-time control, and they're cool. But yeah, so let's check out a few more patches before we get too much into the weeds. I have a tendency to get into the weeds too quickly. Kind of like that Fairlighty thing, but brought up to today. Actually sounds really good. A little bit of inconsistency in my playing there, not necessarily in the synthesizer, is a little velocity sensitive. Mod wheel organ, we'll skip right past that. I don't give a fuck about an organ patch. Oh yeah, that sounds actually really good, and I agree, Nick, it does have a really good first impression. What I've noticed about this synthesizer is it just sounds great right out of the gate. This one's a bass patch. Let's turn that up a little bit. Let's make sure we... You're not going to get that in a DAW, are you? As a friend of mine once said, pussy galore. Really impressive, isn't it? It's very big to me. What's so interesting about this one as compared to the countless other synths we've checked out on this channel is it's virtual analog. It's very, clearly that. It's not going to sound anything but that. It doesn't sound like an analog synth, but it sounds really good, right? Like it's very, like all of these patches sound great. And for being relatively old technology, you really can appreciate the lineage that Waldorf has kept alive since the original PPG Wave, with wavetable synthesis. And nowadays, I think plenty of people who come into synthesis come from the software world of synths like Serum and Massive X. Well, the PPG Wave was the originator of that wavetable synthesis, and Waldorf continues that legacy. It's their legacy. And I think you can tell the difference between something like this and somebody else's, sort of garden variety virtual analog synth. So for me, I think that's just a really awesome thing to be able to have the opportunity to play with. This one's called Clinics. There are so many patches too, Nick. It's crazy how much we've got. A little hard to get the volumes matched though. Really cool, sort of different, almost electric guitar-y thing, but definitely somewhere else. Wow. Really velocity sensitive, almost a little too much for my taste. Sort of FM pad type thing. Not pad, E-piano. Wow. Ingolf, I actually don't. This one isn't mine, which, by the way, is a great moment for me to take a second and say thank you to Troy from Togethers for lending it to me. I appreciate it. It is cursed. I found that out the hard way. For those of you guys who don't know, this is actually the 4th time we've tried to do this live stream. And every time something has gotten fucked up and we had to stop, or I wasn't able to do one of them. So this is the 4th time in a row I've tried to do this stream, and it looks like everything's going fine. But I'm sorry, Troy. There's motherfucking ghosts in this thing. And when I give it back to you, hopefully we will not have problems anymore. Interesting little, if I really slap it, you get... Really interesting thing. So in this case, it's not really my favorite sound, but what I will say is it highlights the fact that we've actually got more than one filter per voice. We've got 2. And so you can hear that there was some extreme resonance thing going on, probably with a parallel filter, and then sort of a more gentle pad-like filter going on as well. Ingolf, yes, the license though is $29 on sale. I mean, that's a great deal. Billy Bart Cody, welcome to the stream. Better move that glass of whiskey. I will put this glass of whiskey where I choose. And by the way, perfect time to have a cheers, guys. Thank you for hanging out. Scum Night every Wednesday night at 9. We do some sort of synthesizer related live stream here on YouTube. Thank you for hanging out with me, Vulture Culture, and checking out synths. So can I get some scum cheers in the chat? That's what I'm talking about. Hell yeah. Let's get some. All right, that's exactly what you think it is. I mean, if that's not a giant trance anthem in a patch, I don't know what is. Lecker, you would know what that word means, Vulture Mom? Very nice. Shane says, apparently, oh, I missed some stuff here in the chat. I always mess this up. Wave Sequencer says, BLOFELD Keys keybed is indeed excellent, contrasting the less reliable encoders. Was hoping Korg would use it for wave state. They have a partnership in distribution. Yes. Dubstation says, I wonder if that factory delay MIDI syncs. That's a good question. I am not educated enough to answer that. Ty, welcome to the stream. How's it going? Shane, although it may mean albino monkey in German, what it's referencing is many of Waldorf's synthesizers are actually references to villains from the James Bond movie. And I don't know if M is a villain, but their most recent synth, the Wavetable recreation of the microwave from 1989, Waldorf M, is a reference to M. There's also Q, which came out before this. And then what are some of the other ones? I'm missing the obvious ones, guys, but that's a thing. Ambient Knots asks, are the encoders on the Keys version less of a problem? Trying to decide between the Keys and the desktop myself. Well, the thing is that, okay, disclaimer, I can only talk about the unit that's right in front of me, and, you know, that's not always the best, because sometimes, like, I'm suspicious in the case of the JP8000 that I got, that I had, you know, some pretty beat up faders, and that affected my ability to bond with that particular synthesizer in a meaningful way that made me want to keep it. Many people love that synthesizer. For me, I think it was the sound too, but maybe not. It's, you know, maybe a little bit of placebo effect or something like that. The encoders on this feel great. That's all I have to say. I do need to report, though, that many people have said that these encoders are unreliable. So before you go out and buy one of these, just be aware of that. I would love to know what Wave Sequencer has to say, though, on the topic of whether the keyboard or keyboardless version is better. If nothing else, the thing is that if you get a version with, or if you get the desktop like this, you can use any MIDI controller with it. Use your favorite keybed with it, you know, and you won't have problems. Keyboard, you might. Dubstation says, is the patch really wide with modded panning, or wondering if it's all the delay settings? Well, my guess would be, and I'm not an expert in it, we might be able to actually go in here into the detune section. So if I go to, what are we looking for? Whoa. Okay, so we're here. This isn't the best one to check out detune with, I think. We'll try it in a second with a different patch. Whoa. I want to get out of this. This is cool. It gives us a nice little, we can control pulse width, though, with this. It actually sounds very cool. And we can add some PWM. Change the wavetable. Very cool. Anyways, how do I get out of this? Sound. You can control things like the filter. I actually did this before. Let's see what it is. Anyways, that's that sound. We'll check out the detune in a second here. Let me catch up with a little bit of the chat here. But yeah, Deb, what I'm hoping to do is we'll check out the, I need to just say Nick. We'll check that out. Ingolf says, by the way, I really like your channel and the way you present all these synthesizer gems. Thank you very much, Ingolf. I appreciate that. Yes. Oh, it doesn't mean that, Shane. I'm so stupid. Yeah, I am the easiest mark. Let's see. Streichfett. I don't know about that, actually, to be honest with you. Yes, Shane, this is very similar to the Pulse 2. I think this was like kind of their, you know, they were trying to go for that type of thing for a time, and now they've moved on to sort of more like the Iridium setup is their new go-to. Wave Sequencer says, honestly, the Waldorf Keys keybed is so good I considered to get it just as a MIDI controller. So that's pretty awesome. Anyways, let's check out some more sounds here. Inversion. I hear nothing. Oh, there it is. I think it was the aftertouch kills on that one, perhaps. JMX versus DeLon? That can get you into your super saw territory. This would be a good one to check out the detune on. So if we adjust the, let's see here, level, let's turn the level down of all of the oscillators all the way down. So we're just hearing one, right? Let's go listen, adjust the detune. That's not going to do it. Let's see the shape. Because it already sounds really, well, there seems to be enough going on there that I can't be 100% sure what's causing that. Ooh, this one's pretty good. This is good if you want that nice plasticky, you know. Almost has that take my breath away by Berlin type of, you know, T881Z or whatever that fucking rack mount unit is. Nice little minor chord thing, so you can, you know, get away with this sort of little bit of that high passed action, which is nice. Moog solo. Yeah, that's I love a good Moog solo patch. It's actually an underrepresented thing. I think in a lot of synthesizers, like they should all have one of these in here. This is what's called Oh My Lord. A little too much like an organ for my taste. PPG bells. at first I was just thinking about the fact that, you know, when you hear a patch like this, you go, oh, okay, it's kind of doing the PPG thing. But this has the wavetables from the PPG built into it because they own them, so they can put it in there. Unlike every other synthesizer company that when it says PPG in there, it's not exactly that because they don't have the rights to it. Let's see, let me catch up a little bit here with the chat. Seems like everybody's happy. Okay. PP Jesus. Lecker is a Dutch word, although this is a German company, so I don't know exactly the German translation, but it's, I would say it's like, it means very good, you know, like you would say, like if you had a really good drink of whiskey, perhaps, you'd be like, ah, lekker, you know? Something like that. I'm not very good with translations of languages I don't speak. Quadrator. Oh, I love this one. Gingy, welcome to the stream. How's it going? That has some serious fucking cut on it. You know what I mean? Coming from the perspective of my day job with music is doing mixing and mastering, I'm like, that patch, quadrator, or however you say that weird ass word, that is what you want from a synth lead because it's not brittle, but like that's in your face. And aftertouch is routed to the cutoff so you can play a note and then, which is very nice. Yeah, we love that patch. It does sound great, doesn't it? I am very impressed by this little synthesizer. You know, and it's the type of thing. Unfortunately, I don't always have time to learn every synthesizer that comes through this channel, if that's not obvious. So this one's called Ring Mod Fart. What a shame they gave it that name because that is gorgeous. Yeah, very good. Does anybody else have issues with the delay? Had to turn it off on all patches since it was so static sounding. Sounds like it's a known firmware issue. I don't know the lineage because it's a borrowed synthesizer, so this one might already have that nice firmware update to be avoiding it. It feels pretty fast. But if I'm being honest, I do question if there's like, you know, 10 to 20 milliseconds of, maybe not 20 milliseconds, like 10 milliseconds or so, 5 to 10. I don't know, it's like, it seems pretty spot on, but like one of those things where, so the threshold of perception with latency, by the way, is 11 milliseconds. Or so. You really can't perceive latency quicker than that. And that's why when people talk about like, oh, I felt like, you know, there's like 5 milliseconds of latency, it's like, they're full of shit. You're not going to be able to hear that. A good example of this is that when a drummer slaps the snare drum in front of them, hits it with a stick, which I guess is what drummers do, it takes 2 milliseconds from the sound of the snare to reach their ears, right? Like that's 2 milliseconds. It's very, very, very fast. So 10, 11, that's the, like, you know, shortest amount of time of delay that you could possibly maybe get your head around. noticing. But what you will notice with delay times around there to 20 milliseconds or so is that right now, because I'm not playing to a click track or a drum machine or anything like that, it's like totally you'd never notice it. But when you're trying to play really tight to something, we all like it tight. The thing is that then the latency sometimes might be an issue. So in this case, because I don't have that going on right now, I can't promise you that it's good, but I like that these arps just keep going. Shane, I am borrowing it from Troy from the band Together, so I appreciate him very much. Sharp! That's a sound space echo? Oh yeah. Interesting little warbly thing that creeps in there when you hit the keys hard enough. Really great sort of MS-2000 Icefield style patch where we're playing the filter more than hearing the oscillators, maybe a little bit of noise in there. I love those types of sounds. Those are some of my favorite. This one's called Synthline. Shit. Baby. Oh, James says, sorry, it's the synced delay effect, not digital latency. Well, I will say this, that I'm glad you said the word delay because I misunderstood your meaning, but it did bring up something I wanted to talk about, which is I might be just crazy. Like, don't take my word for this, but it sometimes does feel like there's a little bit of latency in there. And I don't know if I'm probably really wrong. Like, just me uttering those words means that I'm going to get hit by comments of people being like, no, it's not fucking possible. I measured it. It's got like 0.0005% latency. Could just be the way some of the patches are programmed, but I did get that feeling from it. And I just always am trying to be honest, you know, with what's up. Papa Viking, welcome to the stream. One day it stopped turning on. Oh, that's tragic. I'm sorry. I don't know if there's any way that you guys, if it can be repaired or something like that. The steam pipe, Shane. Yeah, I might have to save up for that. Welcome. I'm gonna skip. I'm not like the biggest arpeggio guy, unless they're like really good. It's interesting how the, it's clearly a deep modulation matrix we're listening to because depending on the velocity, we were getting sort of different amounts of the LFO modulating the synth sound, which is great. Upper warp. I'm adjusting a clock speed. And then we can go into the cutoff here. Increase the resonance. That's a second filter, which is a bandpass filter, right? Second filter, let's increase the resonance there. definitely is capable of getting brittle. But right around here, it's just kind like you get lost all day with that. And there's enough real-time control with these four knobs that you can really jam out on it, as opposed to I've definitely seen programmers and things like that where if you don't have enough controls, sometimes it can just be like a super bummer. But they've laid this out very simply. There's a lot more that you can do in here than just this stuff, though, and that's why we've got extra stuff. If you really want to be programming your own sounds with this, I'm assuming somebody's probably made an editor for it, but I probably wouldn't want to. It would probably be pretty menu divey to make your own sounds with it, so that might be a con depending on what you're looking to do. If you're a beginner, you're trying to get into synthesis, really cool synth. It sounds great, man. I mean, just sounds awesome, but it might not be for everybody, because it is, that might be something that is a con. Here would be a pro, though, is, one of the biggest problems with the way that I demo synthesizers is that, I'm sort of giving you my first impressions, and there have absolutely been synths that I am sure are just really incredible synths once you get to learn them. So an example of this would be the Roland D50, for instance, one of the greatest digital synthesizers, my favorite digital synthesizer of all time. And they're not that hard to program, but there is enough of a learning curve. You can watch my tutorial on it, Roland D50 tutorial. I'm sure if you Google that, you'll come up pretty quickly. But and by Google it, I mean YouTube it. You know what's up. We're on YouTube. I should know where I am. But it's one of those synths where if you're, not careful when you first turn it on with a PG 1000 or with a controller, editor, patch bay, whatever, or you're using the VST version, it can be a little intimidating. Once you put in that effort, though, it becomes a very rewarding, awesome synthesizer that's really not that complicated, but there's like a sort of, you have to get over a ledge. I guess that's what I call it, is like a ledge learning curve, where until you get over that ledge, you are basically dead in the water. Like you're not going to be making anything cool, because it's going to be too complicated. You're going to be like, what's a structure? What's bias? What are all these partials and, different modes it can be in? Once you get past that, which you can pick up just by watching the tutorial I did, then it becomes really great. So anyways, that's an example of this where I'm sure actually you probably can get good at this synth, and once you're good with it, it's probably, fast, make awesome sounds, no problems. But that's a thing to think about. To me, I think the best case for this, buying a used one of these right now, is if you've got already some other synths. I don't think this would be my recommendation for, a beginner or someone who's maybe not a beginner, but you've been producing in the box and you're like, okay, I want a hardware synthesizer. Maybe I'll get a BLOFELD. This is not my choice, because there's nothing really too analog about it. Not just, and I don't mean that, in terms of just the fact that it doesn't have an analog filter or something. What I mean is in the sound, right? Comparing it with something like the modal argon, for instance. A completely digital synthesizer, but it sounds really warm and analog. You're going to get that, what you're looking for from buying an analog synthesizer from something like modal. You're not getting that here. You're getting the Waldorf thing here, which I think sounds great. If you want to get a Waldorf with fucking analog, it's going to be $4,000+, almost $5,000. So for something, I think a Quantum Mark II is pretty close to $5,000, and you can get these for less than $500. So for a tenth of the price, you can get 80% of the Waldorf thing. Like if you like the Waldorf sound, or you're looking at some of those like Iridium or Quantum, Waldorf M, Lyra even, you know, this could probably be a way that you could get into it. And they sold a shitload of these. So little history here too. Well, let's play some sounds. Wavetable mess. Yeah, I love that one. Let's burn through a couple. Nice. You know, to be honest, that's actually goddamn... I was just talking about it's not going to sound warm and analog. Little bit of a metallic reverb in there that I didn't care for as much. That might just be this patch though. Ooh. Little 6-stage envelope action. Oh yeah, that's awesome. Gingy asks, have you thought about the Conductive Lab NDLR V2 as a possible sequencer to let your synths dance and wander? I am not a sequencer guy. I've got a problem. To be truthful with you, if I was going to look at anything, it would probably be from Polyend, and the reason is not a good reason. It's not that I am informed about sequencers or even know that much about Polyend at all. It's because Dub Station Zero uses a Polyend as a sequencer, and I trust that motherfucker. So that would be about it. Gingy says the NLR shifting of the key of all your hardware synths together is pretty special. That is awesome. Machine Storm says, I use the Conductive Labs MRCC. Haven't messed with the NDLR yet. We talked to Conductive Labs at Knobcom about the NDU. Oh, yeah. I remember. Yeah. Oh, that guy was super nice too. So yeah, that was, you know, I will take it back actually about that one in particular. That was one of the first guys we talked to, right, Nick? That was a very cool synthesizer. This one's great. I want to see if I can adjust the cutoff here. We got two separate ones. Is there any way, does anybody know, can you adjust the cutoff of both filters at the same time? Oh, I think we answered your question, Nick. One oscillator's panned hard left and one's panned hard right. So yeah, that sequencer was crazy, like how you could hold down something and change the type of chord that was going in. So if you want a sustain 2 chord, right, you just press that button and then press it, and it was sort of all laid out, you know, so that the music theory was very easy. And he was saying, I forgot the fine gentleman's name at the moment, but he was saying, he's like, sometimes I just want to jam. Right, I don't want to like fucking program everything out. I just want to have some chords to jam with. Right, that was super cool. Yeah. Oh, I am way behind on the chat here. Sometimes I mess with it and it gets fucked up. You might use an oscillator for FM modulation. Yes, yeah. So I'll see if I can do some FM, some cross mod here. Oh man. Oh, there was so much chat I missed. I'm speed reading, guys. I'll jump in if there's anything I need to. We're getting into some stuff that I don't know about. Aquatic Borealis says, I kind of want a Polyend play, but I've always got a couple of sequencers. What other sequencers do you use? Let's see. Everybody's got some. Ambient Not says, right, it's more for generative music. I have one. Which one's that you have, Ambient? The panning of the oscillators, yes. Yeah. I love to, this was one of the greatest things about being at KnobCon. I'm going to play this sound. Blowitzer. I think we're in the, okay, so once you get past a certain point, we start getting into... Really like this one. This one's great. It's thin, but not in a bad way. Nothing. What am I doing wrong? Don't know why I'm not hearing anything. Whoa. What happened to the volume? Come on, baby. Everybody happy with my MIDI control output? Everybody okay? What happened? I'm not hearing anything, and that's not good. We get to play this part. What I was going to say about KnobCon was that it's so awesome to get the opportunity. Let me see what's going on here. What's wrong? Is my music playing? Okay, something will happen with all of my MIDI controllers, I think. We're going to just go in and reset all MIDI devices. Okay. And see if anything's changed. Can I get my music back? Man, it wouldn't be a live stream if we didn't have some sort of issue. Wow, I think it might just be my this. So why don't we just save this real quick? All right, we're going to make it through. Let's see if turning that back on helps. Let's see if I can reset all MIDI devices. Let's see, and okay. Thanks Satan in heaven. I was about to fucking lose my shit if that didn't work. So very happy that we're okay here. That's a fatty right there. Wow. ZS40 Ring Mod, a synthesizer I'd love to get my hands on. Synth Theory, I'm glad you made it just in time to watch the shit show begin. It seems appropriate. Welcome, welcome. First time on your live stream, love the content. I'd always agree with you, but that makes things more interesting. All right, so I gotta know, what would be the number one thing you disagree with me on? You're not gonna hurt my feelings, it's okay. Everybody always is so great on my YouTube channel, at least. I'd say 99.9% of the comments and stuff that I get are so constructive, and even if people disagree with me, they do so in such a polite and constructive way, so it's very cool. Lightning Sprites Jet Wizard, welcome to the stream. How's it going? I don't know what happened. I just had to redo some stuff. No dead output, thank God in heaven. Yeah, you know what, Gingy? I also totally missed out on Dreadbox, which is so stupid because like I love the Dreadbox stuff. Whatever. Yeah. Very interesting. Oh, there is a lot of stuff about the 70M and the older Yamaha polys. Well, go ahead. So are you a fan of the 70M or are you like, you hate it? Whatever you got to say, like I said, not going to hurt my feelings. Okay, this is great, but I don't care. You know, like... I actually like this organ. Okay. Wow, that is crazy how dark that is. Really thick. I think the number one place where, I mean, this synth sounds so fucking good it's really hard to fucking critique it in any meaningful way. But I will say, if there was one spot I would maybe want it to be improved, it would be the reverb. I don't know if it's just a few of the patches that have particularly metallic, periodic ringing reverb. There's a certain sound I don't love. You know, that might be a thing. So yeah. Let's see. The fucking chat's not saying up. Synth Theory loved it, never played it though, but played the 60, 50, 60, and 80. Only own a 50 though. I think you would lose your shit if you tried one. I probably would. It'd be interesting. I mean, of course, I do not have the money to buy a 50 or a 60. 80's out of the question, right? But of course, I would love to shoot it out versus the two, because I think there are things that are really great about the 70M that aren't possible on the first generation of CS polys. You know, like my favorite thing is the bandpass filter and high pass filter. In particular, the high pass filter, those sounds aren't recreatable on the 50, 60, and 80. There's a high pass filter per voice. In fact, you know, the 50, 60, and 80 have 2 filters per voice, so it is more flexible in that sense, but because of the envelopes, you can't get those really dramatic high pass pads. Like you will hear here, that we already heard one earlier. Usually that's reserved for like digital synths and things like that, but you can do it on the 70M, which is just crazy. And that in stereo is really something. Past that, though, I would believe that the 50, 60, and 80 are the better synthesizers. Lightning Sprites Jet Wizard says, try to program the arpeggiator and see if you like it. The BLOFELD way to program it is unusual. Well, if you'll let me know how to do it, you probably know a lot more about it than I do. Let's see. Flangalized. Ooh, this one's very nice. Wow, that's pretty. I wonder if that's using the comb filter, right? So a comb filter is going to be very similar to a flange. Very nice patch. Funky bass. Very cool. Totally not something we need to hear more of. Wow. A lot of, speaking of digital resonance and high passing. Yeah, so that's that sound. Heimweh. Very beautiful. Honey House. Very similar. I used a sort of a reversed, or like a reverse gated reverb sound on a patch from Neon Chronicles, my new patch library for the Roland D50. Link should be showing up in chat. It should be in the description of the video as well. Maybe I fucked that up. I don't know. That uses that reverse sort of thing. I love that sound. That's a really good. You could get some, really thick sorts of sounds out of that. This one's called Horny. Yeah, really kind of fun electro house stuff. High pass PPG. Ooh. So let's see. You were saying, okay, arpeggiator is found in the bottom button and scroll all the way to the right. So if I hit the bottom button and then scroll all the way to the right, doop, doop, type chorus. Oh, I see. Mode on. Hold. That way I can talk over it. Let's try. A nice 11th chord there. Let's take that down. Nah. Mighty fucking Pinto, how's it going? Thank God the technical issues are over and we're here. Can I get a scum cheers for Mighty Pinto, my main motherfucker? Really just a treat to know you, my friend. Okay. So what else can we do? If we scroll, we can adjust the tempo. The pattern is on user. Oh wow, they have a bunch of different patterns in here. That's what I'm talking about. So this is actually really cool because you get different sorts of patterns with this. So it's not just the super boring sort of thing, you know what I mean? Like you get some... So you got these 15 different patterns. Yeah, I like that. We can adjust the tempo. Yeah, that's really great. See what else we can do. Direction up. We can increase the octaves. Let's get even higher. That way we can really hear it as we adjust the cutoff. Cool. Length. I think that's the gate. You guys can't see what I'm doing. Short order is played. Wow, there's so much. You can adjust the pattern length. Ah! So, I don't know if this is really going Euclidean, Nick, but if we bring this to, say, 15, or let's go with 14, it's probably a better number for this thing. If this was going against a beat, right? Right now, it just sort of sounds like a wash of notes. But if we were going up against a beat, we'd be skipping an eighth note each time, so we'd be getting off a little bit. Either an eighth note, maybe a quarter note. Depends on the tempo and all of that. I don't know which would be skipping depending on the length that it's going with, plus the... It seems like a half-time sort of pattern, because at 158, this is still pretty slow. We're around there. Wow, you can actually go through and kind of fuck shit up. Accents, timing, length. This is deep. So anyways, let's go into the cutoff here. We have what? We have 2 high-pass filters. Try the other one. Would somebody be kind enough to let me know, is there a way to control both cutoffs at the same time? Nick says, that would be polymeter, not Euclidean. Okay, I thought so. Brother. I thought that's where we were. Yeah, we're just kind of in a bi-meter sort of thing. Bisexual meter. Sorry, Gingy, I haven't leveled up enough to be able to Euclid out. By LFO. So does that mean I need to change page? Let's see if we change pages here. Ah, so this is where the panning is. It's at the filter level. And then if we go over here, the pan is left 64. Pan source LFO. Pan amount. Routing. So this is where we can see the filter routing. But I don't see a way to control both at the same time. Unless I'm missing something. I wouldn't be surprised if I'm missing something. Let's see what else we can serial. Yeah, that's all we can do on this page. That doesn't do anything here. Yeah, unfortunately I don't see anything there at least. On a way that you could control both cutoffs at the same time, which is a shame. But, you know, considering everything you can do with this, it's pretty impressive. You have a shortcut to LFO within the filter settings. No need to go mod matrix. But I don't want to control the LFO, right? Oh, here's the trigger envelope. We're in the LFOs. 3. Modulation matrix here. Wow. So many mod slots. Wow. Oscillator common. This might be it. Oscillator. I want filter common. We can add ring modulation. Jesus. Nice. You can hear the little bit more of that going on. Yeah, I don't see any way though. You can assign them there in the mod matrix? Is that the idea? Okay. I think that's where I tap out on this stream anyways. Just like, I want to hear some sounds, you know, I don't want to spend too much time, but I get what you're saying. You can mod matrix assign that, but it's a shame that it's not like easy. You want to talk about reprogramming your brain? Oh my god, modular synthesis is fucking deep. That shit is crazy. I don't know how all these motherfuckers just sitting around fucking modular synthesizing. I felt so fucking stupid. Like, and everybody was so nice. Like, all of the people we met, it was just a joy that you couldn't ask for. A more dedicated community of people that just love what they're doing and love nerding out and talking about all the different ways that you can make sound. But it is just like, it is so much deeper than my little corner of vintage synthesizers. Like, it is truly boggles the mind. Let me just say that, you know, what can be done. Yeah. Let's see. Synth Theory says, I love S2 and S4 arpeggios. They let you jam on top more freely because they're not in a key. That's correct. Let's see. Bleeping and blooping. Well, you know what? 40 Thieves. By the way, 40 Thieves, welcome to the stream. You know, I kind of would admit that I have a bit of a bias, perhaps, when it comes to, I had a bias when it came to modular, that because if you, like modular on YouTube. So whenever I've watched modular demos and stuff on YouTube, I'm immediately like flaccid. I am not into it because it is more of that bleepy bloopy type stuff. Here's a noise that no one's ever heard before. And I love that. I'm glad someone's doing that, but there's not a whole lot of a song or something there. It was the performances. Microphones running away. It was the performances at KnobCon that I thought were so incredible because, you know, I'm going to have a video up. By the way, I should mention this. There's going to be a video on this channel every day for the next couple of weeks or so from all of the stuff that we shot at KnobCon. Starting tomorrow with the Exelon, I think is how you say it, mixer from Board Brain Music. They announced it at KnobCon, and so we're going to have that up tomorrow, and we're going to be just hitting thing after thing. It's going to be Nina by Melbourne Instruments probably on Friday. They were kind enough to let me do a really relatively in-depth review demo of their synthesizer, whereas some of the other videos I shot, we were just like talking to people, and they showed off like what it could do, what they could do. But the guys from Melbourne Instruments were super nice, and they let me actually shoot a little bit deeper than that. And I think they were expecting me. I sort of tricked them. I went in being like, yeah, we'll just play some sounds, but that's not what I did. What I did was I was like, let's pull up an initialize patch and let's try to make some stuff raw. Because the thing is, I'm sure a million other people have played the presets from Nina. What I wanted to do was like, okay, what's this thing like for real? Like, what's this like when you're not hearing, you know, a professional sound designer making a sound? Like, how easy is it really? And I think that video is going to be really cool for you guys to check out. I don't want to give away too much. Anyways, back to what I was saying before. The thing about KnobCon that really changed my mind about modular was the fact that was the performances, like walking through the doors when it opened. Yo, yo, yo! Eric, thank you for subscribing to the channel. The thing is, you open the doors, it's this giant tent behind the hotel, beautiful atmosphere, and everybody's standing around a ring of synthesizers. And I forgot, his name was Nick as well. I forgot his artist name. I'm so sorry. I'm blanking on it right now. Nick, if you know, please fill me in. But it was incredible. He's got a Buchla easel, and Nick let me know it's like the 50-year anniversary of that instrument, playing this just gorgeous arpeggio, but with this deep bass line. And he's got a violin out playing over the top of that. And it was like hypnotic. Like that might have been the moment for the whole year. It was just walking in on that. It was just so incredible. So, and then I really need to finish this ramble up, this rant. Seeing acts like Dubstation Zero and POB Energy, Tammy X, Vamp Acid, and a bunch of others. The way that they were able to take modular, I guess Vamp Acid's not really modular, but take it, but still have a set and still have there be music, and it's like a you know, a performance of electronic music that you can vibe to, you can groove to. It didn't have to be, you know, it didn't get to that place where it's like, okay, we've gone so experimental as to have lost the plot, you know. So yeah, let me catch up with the chat. Sorry about that. A little bit. I got a little bit off track there. Let's see. Gingy says, I had to rewatch Jorb's AX60 video earlier today. That was another thing. I got to meet Jorb. Nick introduced us, and that was just an awesome thing because I watch all of Jorb's videos. I think he's incredible. Let's see here. Machine and Storm asks, was Chris Randall there? I didn't see him. That doesn't mean he wasn't. Gingy says, I have an Akai AX80 in the middle of a rebuild. That's like another one of those synths. I am out of synth money right now. I do not have the cash for new synthesizers, but the X60 is a really cool synth, and I've always wanted to try it against the the X80 is a really cool synth versus the X60 would be really fun. Mylar Melodies, I should check that out for sure. Nick says, I love the approach to steering the ship, and that's the interesting thing that Nick kept saying to me too. I will play some sounds in a second, but he was saying, you know, you can make modular what you want it to be. It doesn't have to be, you know, a certain thing. You can make it where it's all like, you know, you could, you know, for me, like the noise engineering oscillators really impress me. They're digital, but they're just so filthy. And what you can do is, you know, like take that, but run it through a Polyvox filter or something like that. Amazing. But to me, I can still kind of get my head around that. Where I think it gets incredible is when you take it to that next level and you start doing stuff that's not possible. Like what Nick was saying, like just playing with triggers. So you're separating it. The most beautiful metaphor to describe that made sense to me because I came from playing guitar, which is the disconnect between your right and left hands. When you're playing guitar, you know, your left hand's playing the chord, right? But your right hand can like play different melody or rhythms to that, right? It's not always the same. With a keyboard, you press a note, you're getting that note then, right? So anyways, I'm talking way too much. Here's the sound. So that to me is like the type of sound I don't really care for from Waldorf, but is important. It's kind of a filthy Reese thing. Well, I like this one. Wow. incredible. And I love that right at the end, when I leaned into the aftertouch, we get a little surprise, you know? Definitely one of the coolest sounds on the whole synthesizer. I'm really happy we made it this far into the patches to check that out. So I'm so far behind on chat. Let me catch up here. Quadic says semi-modular is all I can handle. I understand that very much. So Ambient says, my request, Ari BLOFELD, would be, can you run some icy BLOFELD pads through either a Strymon Deco or El Capistan pedal, or your own awesome plugin, Inktomi? Yes, well, I do intend, once I'm done with the next couple of Vulture Culture projects, to work on making a bucket brigade delay / tape delay plugin. So, you know, some people are already asking, like, when's Inktomi 2? I literally got that comment, and I was like, wow, that's quick. It's only been out for a bit. Nick, and he works for Buchla. Yes, I can't remember his artist name, though. Ambient Knots, have a great night, okay? Let's see. Johnny, welcome to the stream. How's it going? Trying to catch up. Trying to speed read here. Yeah. Jean-Francois, welcome to the stream. This one's really great. Oh, Johnny mentioned VCV. Yeah, so that's really where I think would make sense to sort of get started with it, right? Maybe I should mess around with that for a bit. Because yeah, that's a way that you could get into this without just like completely bankrupting everything. That's a nice little vintagey sounding thing. Really cool sort of take on that Moog lead, but a little bit more distorted. I appreciate that. Wow. Wow. That's a thing. Nice thing. That one's very good too. Aquatic Borealis says Hyperion is basically modular as well. Yes. You know what's interesting though, and I will say this: I did have my opinion changed by being a knobcon, because for instance, as I'm designing plugins right now, because Inktomi is not the end. You know, of course, I've got other stuff I'm working on. It occurred to me that what I'm doing right now essentially is modular synthesis in some sense of the word, because I'm putting together stuff to make, you know, plugins. But what I will say is, so using Hyperion was very similar to, in a weird way, like designing a synthesizer plugin. But what the people are doing who are pushing the boundaries from those companies, and what's so cool about it is a lot of the times it's like one fucking person or a small team of like 5 people maybe who are making it all happen. They're building a lot of the stuff in their garages sometimes. It's just like a dedicated community of people who are not super corporatized, you know. It was pretty funny. I'll tell this story even though it'll probably get me canceled from a certain manufacturer, which would be a shame because I love money, and you guys know that I would totally sell my ass to any synthesizer company, you know, in order to make money to then spend it on more synths. So it's for you guys in the long run. But it was funny to see the Roland booth and how pathetic it was and how no one gave a fuck. And I was shooting footage with some of the other manufacturers right around them, and It was so funny because I felt bad. If you're watching this video, dude, I wasn't trying to be rude, but the guy from Roland kept like looking over at me as I was going by with the camera, like almost like the kitten that wants to be adopted, right? Like, just come over here, maybe shoot some, don't you want to? Because he was just getting fucking humiliated there, just because I don't even know why they really didn't have a well set up booth, and they just brought like a bunch of their like new Aria line, which is basically their Volcas, which I'm like, did you guys want to fail? Like, they have big badass synths. They're right next to the Synth City booth where they have all of these vintage synthesizers, including a Fairlight CMI, a real one, just sitting there that you can see. And a bunch of other awesome synths, a Yamaha CS30. Everybody knows I've lusted over that one. So yeah, it's one of those things where I was like, oh man, but I guess I'm saying that to say that no one was there for like the big corporate entities, and there almost were none. It was probably 4 or less big ones, and then the rest was all like really cool people that were, like I said, like just like homies hanging out making synth stuff, and it was the best environment. Let me catch up real quick. It'll work better if you put these glasses on. Yeah, Eli from Mystic. Was it Mystic Frequencies or just Mystic Audio or something like that? You can let me know, but that was the funniest shit. And I did shoot the video for this channel with the 3D goggles on or glasses on. He was like, yeah, this is going to make more sense to you if you put these 3D glasses on, while I was explaining. Some pretty trippy shit. Machine Storms. Part of me would kind of wish I picked up a Blofeld, yeah. Gingy said big names made the walk of shame. Yeah, it was they kind of got, it's just hard when you've got like these awesome synth companies and everything, just like really authentic whatever, and then Roland's there, and I think Roland does a lot of good. I'm not trying to talk shit about Roland, but they just got so outclassed. The fact that they're putting out only digital little Volkified versions of their synthesizers from back in the day, and then there's all the other, just awesome stuff that's coming out, So I'm really excited for the videos that are coming out, guys. Like, definitely want to hear your feedback on what you guys think of the KnobCon videos I shot. Constructive criticism is good. What I could do better next year, because I want to take what we did this year at KnobCon and bring it up a notch. Make sure I really cover a lot. I also deliberately, for this year anyways, did not cover everything. There's a lot of manufacturers. I just focused on the ones that I thought were most interesting, or that, had some sort of product that was like, oh, that's really cool. So I think I probably did like only 8 or so like interviews with companies, and some of them, it's like I wasn't trying to cover everything. I was trying to cover what stood out to me on this trip. So that's also going to be interesting. So there's an element more of curation to the videos coming out, as opposed to when it comes to other synth channels that I adore that cover everything, that cover basically everything you could get there. Mystic Circuits, that's what it is. Yeah. Machine Storm says, Roland getting fucked in the bed they made for themselves. Hell yeah. Yeah, I was just like, and even their booth seemed super like, not like they didn't even have a banner behind them. I didn't even realize it was Roland at first. It felt like they set the guy up to fail. I don't know what they were thinking. Lightning says, it seems like Roland nailed the S1 though. It's generally well received. I mean, I tested it out and I was like, it sounds fine. But it's just like, compared to everything else that was there, it just was so underwhelming. Aquatic Borealis says, Roland TR-8S is pretty nice though. Some people really like the SH4D. Absolutely. I mean, people love the SH4D. I'm not talking shit about Roland. Do you know what I mean? Like, I am and I'm not. In the sense that I'm talking shit about how they set up their booth, and like, why didn't they have the Jupiter X there? Or the Juno X, right? The fucking Juno X would have been great. That would have made sense. It was big badass synth. Instead, they brought like a backpack full of calculators with them. I don't understand. But yeah, Aquatic Borealis, I just want to make it super clear and clear to everybody. They put out some awesome stuff, no doubt. It's just and really usable stuff. I think that's the thing. They're really into making stuff that you can make music with, you know, as opposed to some products that are esoteric or whatever enough that whatever. Let's see. Gingy says, love Roland. They just need the Curtis filter reissues. Agreed there. George asks, your thoughts about the Behringer RD8. The RD8, is that a clone of the drum machine from Roland, or am I thinking of something else? Tom Spooner, how's it going? The boutiques are great little things. Yeah, so that's the thing. I mean, do I own any boutiques? No. But do I think they're awesome for someone who... So I play the keys. And this is a thing that might change now that I've been to KnobCon and I've seen how awesome it is to live in the modular world and use sequencers and spend more time, you know, how you interact with the music as opposed to, you know, pressing the keys. In a weird way, that almost seems boring to me now. But I'm a key presser, right? That's what I've been doing for so long. So I need big keyboards like this, you know? There's got to be a lot of them, and they've got to be big and sexual, right? But if I was like if I was a sequencer guy, the boutiques are awesome, you know, and they're more accurate than the Jupiter X and Juno X models, you know. So let's see. Aquatic Borealis says, KnobCon doesn't seem like the crowd for Roland. Yes, and I think they could have had a strong presence had they just set up their booth differently. So I guess that's kind of what I'm saying. Eric, welcome to the stream. I picked up an MC101, surprisingly fun groove box. I bet it is. Gingy says, Korg has the whole experimental division. Roland needs to keep up, yeah. I didn't see Moleko Heavy Industry at all either, but that doesn't mean they weren't there because I'm not the best when it comes to this stuff. So let's play some more sounds. I think that's enough about KnobCon for a bit. Very nice. Let's see. Everything that I can say about this synth is how tasteful everything sounds, you know? Nearly in tune because that's my experience with it. Nick says Sequential Oberheim had all the big ladies out. Yes, they did, and their booth was very aesthetic. Them and Modbap. So Modbap was one of the companies. I can't wait to get the video up. Corey was just such a nice guy, and their stuff was really good. I think I felt like, especially when it came to their drums, and they had a module called Hue, which reminded me for the in the box guys of like Excellent Audio's Retro Color, where it just added the vibe. You know, it could add like vinyl noise or hiss. It could add sort of like some drive with some low pass or some digital grit. It just could give it that sampler feel. So for me, Modbap, they had the most aesthetic booth, and I also felt like their products were the right mixture of, they were really thoughtful was the word, where it's just like the interface was something I could understand as a modular noob, but when they started talking about what it could actually do, it was pretty mind-boggling. And so that's a really cool company. For sure. Lightning, have I tried multi-mode? What would be the goal for that? Are those different patches? Multi-mode can mean different things on different synths. Eric says, is modular inherently monophonic, or what, can one design a modular system with polyphony? So yes, you can. There are absolutely, I'm sure I've YouTubed it myself because I've been interested in that. There are module makers who are kind of like, okay, we get it. You want to be able to play chords with a key bed or maybe just with MIDI sequencer. Let's make that happen. But I don't think that it's necessarily the way to go. I think where modular is best is monophonic. And that doesn't mean, I think the difference is, and this is another thing that's probably obvious to everybody else, but for me became kind of like more of a clear, it got solidified for me being at KnobCon, was it can be multi-mono, I guess. And the way that Nick set up his setup, you know, and I'll say it because it's probably easier for me to say it than to have Dubstation Zero say it all out. But he had a baseline voice, basically. So modules that created a SH101, essentially. I think it was mostly one module. And then he had a lead voice. And that involved a polyvox filter and something else I can't remember. But basically then, so independent of that is a completely another set of modules that gave him, you know, a filter oscillator thing going on and the envelopes and all of that. And then he samples his vintage synths chords, and he'll sample them a few different times, like 7 times with different variations, and add some randomness to that. So even though he can sequence out what chord he's getting, he gets a different variation every time it comes through, which is really cool. Stops it from being static, right? Just being a static sample. So, and then I think he had some modules, sample modules for textures and vocals. So if you think about it, that's really like 5 elements that are all going on at once. And those are mostly mono, or you could think of it as paraphonic if you take a bunch of synth voices and then run it through one filter, right? So it's a way that you could sequence out full songs, full arrangements, but you're not going to have, I didn't see anything. I'm not saying it's not I'm sure it is possible, but I don't think there's any reason you would want to do a like just completely polyphonic modular setup. In my opinion, I would just get a regular ass synth, because that's what you're going to end up having is that. So I hope I answered that question. Yeah. Pliskin, have you ever had the screen placed on your Wave station? You could get one for around $300, but it has a line going through the screen. You can usually replace them pretty cheaply. I think on eBay you can get them for about $100. Having said that, $300 plus $100 to replace the screen is not it's like a fair price for a Wave station. You might want to wait, and because you never know what problems you might have. There might be ground hums in the synthesizer. You could have a broken key by the time it gets mailed to you, stuff like that. So, yeah, I was paying attention when you were talking, Nick. I think that's like close to a good price, but it's not like a mind-bendingly good deal. Wave stations are very cheap, which it makes them one of the best value vintage synthesizers you can get. Ew. I don't know why you would have velocity with that sound. Oh, this one's really cool. Oh, it's a shame the digital resonance kind of gets a little... Love the delays, though. They're like eternal delays. I want to see what kind of filters we're using here. So, looks like a band pass and a low pass? And that's a good example, too. This, this synth's digital resonance can be very extreme and not analog at all, which isn't a bad thing. Let's catch up with the chat here. Eric says, makes sense that an 8-voice modular system would probably be the size of a small house. Yeah, and it's just like, the thing is the more polyphonic you'd get, the more you'd have to be like duplicating modules and stuff. Although, like, of course, there are certain modules that let you do it. But they're probably going to be more like a whole synth in a module done digitally. That way it's possible. I don't know. Portal Complex says, I'm sitting behind one now. Is that a wave station or a BLOFELD? Let's see. AD is a lot more desirable. I almost replaced my wave station with the blue screen you're talking about. Yeah, very cool. Yeah. The wave station hum can be removed by getting rid of the backlight, but then no backlight, or get a new LCD with an LED backlight. Yeah, so you know, for me, the wave station is like I guess I would say like a low priority synth, because I actually like the VST a lot. It's pretty damn close. So if I want that sound, I just use the VST. But I love having it in the studio just because I think for me, it's one of my favorite synths, and probably the synth that got me into vintage synths. Medusa's analog filter resonance can be just as loud. I wasn't saying that it couldn't be just as loud, Lightning. There's absolutely analog filters that go, but they, you know, analog filters tend to have, you know, just a more characteristic frequency response, whereas this is very clinical in the best way. I mean, it's not a bad thing, but it is there. Let's see. Gingy says, love how vintage synths help teach you how synths work. It's a lesson in electronics and innovation for sure. Yeah. Hit the shift utility keys and see if there's any factory multi. Okay, so shift utility. This says store sound. I don't want to do that. So I'm not going to do that. This is somebody else's, so I don't want to mess their shit up. I love a little like filter click in the front there. Yeah, awesome patch. Really great. Huge fan of that. Love one of those too. Wow, that's a pretty good... pretty good little brassy thing. Plain bass. I don't really think you need that patch in there. Jesus fuck. What the fuck, man? Ow. Well, that's very blurry. Let's turn the volume back up. What is it? To play that song one of these days. Whoa, fuck, another jump. So it's when you press aftertouch. Ew. They're like, enough pretty sounds. We need to get a little bit more. This is a very distorted sound. And you get this weird ring modulated thing on the right ear when you apply aftertouch. So this is with no aftertouch. This is with aftertouch halfway through. Very weird. we are deep here in the shit now. Oh, nice pretty art. just to keep you on your toes. Well, that's a very good bell pad, actually. Not bad. Wow, we're just really... No more Mr. Nice Guy. Okay, so shift multi. We got an initialized multi. It's very much just your standard sawtooth sound. No, I don't have anything, unfortunately, so let me go back to play, I guess. It looks like there's nothing. How do I get out of there? Nope, that's not what I want either. Oh no. I don't want to store that either. How do I get back? I just want to play sounds that aren't multis. I want to play regular stuff. Shift play. I'm lost, guys. Sound. Okay, play. How do I get back? No. No. Oh, am I gonna have to resort to the classic? All right. Play gets you out. I am menu anxious. Played is not getting me out. Lightning, that's why I'm anxious. Not working. Help me. Oh, we're out. I think we're out. Okay, wait. Play. No. Oh, God. We're just in hell now. Nicholas, welcome to the stream. I have this thing for the price. It's very good. That's exactly my argument. I think this is a very good way. Probably the optimal way to get the Waldorf sound into your setup without breaking the bank, without buying a Quantum or something like that. Just play. If I hit just play, it's just taking me to more multis, Lightning. We're going to do the classic off and on. Let's see what we got here. You get to see the little ripple when you turn it on. From Germany with love. Oh no, it's still in the multis. I can't escape. Help. Play is not getting me out, so I don't know. What do I do, Lightning? You got me into this place, Lightning. It is now your job to get me the fuck out. I could read the manual, but what's the purpose of that? Lemon. While Lightning is getting back to me about stuff, let's just look at Lemon real quick. Lemon, the blind cat, is here. The one-eyed blind cat. She decided to come visit. Look at her with her one big blue eye. So pretty. Okay, that's about as much being held as she likes, so we'll put her down. But, just shift multi. Let's try that. Yes! We're out. Saw orgy. I thought I tried that. I think I hit shift utility instead. Thank you, Lightning. I appreciate it. Yell at it in German. That worked. Torrent vaccine. How's it going? That's pretty good. A lot of resonance on that one. Very cool. You can control the type of this. So this is the low pass filter. We could change this to the PPG low pass. This is an emulation of the PPG filter. Lightning says, sorry for the trouble. No big deal. This is the thing you have to do. You have to endure with the synth. Well, so, and you know what? Like, even though I don't like getting lost on a thing while I'm live streaming, what I will say is, I endeavor to actually, to demo these synths as honestly as I can and have them be, like, useful, as opposed to, let's say, marketing material you might get from a company where they'll be like, yeah, here's all the cool things it can do. And it's like, yeah, but I'm glad in a way that you guys got to see me struggle with it and be like, I don't know how to find the next patch. And it's not laid out. Now that you've said shift multi again, it's like, well, that's pretty logical. I get it. And, you know, it's not a thing that should stop you from buying it. But you do get a better grasp of what a synthesizer is like if you see someone actually experience it live for the first time and just like, what's this like? You know, is this... It really excels at these sort of virtual analog pads, though. I mean, they're just... Yeah. Yeah. Gingy says, we should all chip in and find you an Alesis Andromeda A6. I would love that. And in fact, Troy from Togethers has an Andromeda. When I went to his studio to pick up the Yamaha EX5 behind me and this BLOFELD, there on the wall was a fucking Andromeda. And I was like, wow, man, if you ever want to get rid of that, you know who to talk to. Having said that, though, you know, it's probably amazing. I'll leave it at there. Kev Human, welcome to the stream. My BLOFELD had the analog voltage pack by Don Solaris installed on it. Some of the best virtual analog patches I've ever heard. I bet it's incredible. Oh, is Wave Sequencer out of here? I think I missed that. Wave Sequencer, have a great night. Thank you so much. Mark Rouse, welcome to the stream. Passed out earlier, just made it to this party, but a go. Always showing something more I think I need to buy. My goal is not to increase gas. My goal is actually just to, you know, sort of help people make informed decisions. So it's good to be able to experience these synths raw, you know, without me over learning them. I try to make sure I know enough just to like get in, but also, like, for instance, if I was to learn all of the synths as well as I know the Roland D50 or a lot of the other synths behind me in the studio, it wouldn't really be that useful of a review for someone who doesn't want to spend time reading manuals all day, which I've done on a lot of them, you know. So yeah. Yeah, the velocity setting under the filter, I'm sure. Actually, some of these patches, that would be like a critique of mine. They're a little too much velocity. Ooh, I like a nice plasticky. Kind of FM-y sounding. Very cool sort of sound there. Super saw. Like this, I don't need as much velocity. This is a sound that should have no velocity. It should just be full blast all the time. Minor gripe. Wow. Velocity can be negative. That's a cool modulation feature that's often overlooked. Ooh, little vowel-y thing. Whoa. A little bit of negative velocity there. No, some sort of something in there. Tom says 3 voices per LFO is a lot. That is correct. It is. Very cool. For sure, Gingy. So I'm not entirely sure, but someone, probably Lightning, could give a better example, but I believe like a lot of the other virtual analogs of the era, like the Virus TI2, I think came out the same year as this, 2007. But I think it can do the Jupiter 8000 super soft thing. We are listening to more than just like 2 oscillators and a sub or something like that. It could be baked into the wavetable, but I doubt it. I think it's probably more likely to be some sort of stacking that's going on. Kevhuman asks, how are the encoders? They are known to have issues on some models, but mine is okay. The encoders are great on this one, but I want to be careful because there's something to be said for, people are going to watch this video and go, okay, Vulture Culture's BLOFELD, the encoders are great, and then if you buy one off Reverb and the encoders suck, I don't want you to come hate me. So I would just make sure to be careful about that. Make sure before you buy anything used, make sure to ask questions about that. I always say that in my video on talking about things to know before you buy a vintage synth. I mentioned that you should learn what the issues are with a given synth before you go into buying one. Try to figure out what the common issues are so you can avoid them. It's usually not worth it unless you can get a spectacular deal and you're super handy yourself, or you know a synthesizer tech who will do it without the cost of an arm and a leg. Gingy, if anybody comes across ignorant on this stream, it's me. You got nothing to worry about. You're good. Tom Spooner says 25 note polyphony. Yes, that's correct. That might also be part of how they're getting, actually that probably answers the question, Nick, which is, I noticed on the Deep Space Nine pad that was the intro to the stream, that I was noticing voice stealing. So what that means is they're stacking those voices on top of each other, I'm guessing, because otherwise with 25 notes, it should be impossible for me to hear any voice stealing. Yeah, so 16-part multi-timbral, yeah. That's true too, Nick, that, a lot of times common problems are not that bad. And yeah, VST editor for the BLOFELD would be super good. So I'm going to play just a couple more and we'll call it a night. Wave Mayhem sounds good. Was not expecting that. Wow. It's like the craziest sort of, this, I really love this patch because it reminds me of the Roses patch on the Kawai SX240, but with this extra layer where it sort of brings in like an ESQ1 style wavetable into the release. Wow. Yeah, that's a great one. So I think that's a pretty good place for us to call it a night. I think that was a successful demo of this cursed BLOFELD. Like I was saying earlier, this is my 4th attempt to do this live stream, and we finally got it done. Everything went good, so thank Satan for this. Lightning says, that was the comb filter once again. With resonance, you get those phase flanger-like sound effects. It's so cool. Music Maestro, welcome to the stream. Sorry it's going towards the end. I have a Studio Logic Sledge Black Edition as Waldorf sounds. Yeah, so Sledge is another one of those really, that is probably my, choice if I was to buy a Waldorf right now. It'd probably be the Black Edition of the Sledge. I almost bought one. Yeah, so thank you guys so much. I think this was a very fun stream. So glad to finally have it done. It's like a weight has been lifted off of my fucking shoulders. KnobCon was great. Videos are going to be coming up every day this week, at least for a week and a half or so. There's going to be a new video every day. So I'm really excited about that. It's been it was quite a journey. It was so much fun to meet everybody there. And everybody was super nice too, by the way. Like, you know, you never really know what you're getting into when it comes to stuff like that. Let's see. Let me catch up with the chat here. Yeah, we got her done, Aquatic. You know, you never know what you're going to get. With like, are people going to have egos? Is there going to be, you know, you kind of never want to meet your heroes. You know, Venus Theory gave Anna and I some cookies his wife baked. I mean, they're all fucking sweethearts. It was just a great time. So, I appreciate that very much, Kev. Very much. We do this stream every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. So next week, we're going to be checking out the Yamaha EX5. You can't really see it. It's in the shadows right here. Versus the SY99, which is right up here. So these are like two flagship synthesizers from Yamaha. One from 91, I think 1990, 91, somewhere in there. And then one from like 97. So a few years later when things were going more towards the virtual analog stuff. I think that's the stream for next week. And then we'll keep going. Yeah. Spaceman on Earth. So sorry I'm missing you for the end of the stream. Yeah. DX72FD, that's awesome, Mind Idiot. How's it going? Yo, I'm sorry the stream's over. All the homies are showing up. So anyways, guys, we're gonna call it there. Like I was saying, new Roland D50 patch library is out now, vultureculture.live. If you have a Roland D50, whether it's the hardware, the boutique vSynth, or software Roland VST cloud versions of the synthesizer, you can buy that now. If you're a member of the channel, it's absolutely free. So that's a good reason to become a member of the channel. And yeah, I think, I'm glad to hear you were here, Spaceman. Yeah, oh, there it is in the chat. There's the link. So yeah, Kev Human, thank you for becoming a subscriber. And I just wanted to say, love and light, bitches. I am out.